G'day Doggies fans and g'day NRL fans for another NRL Media Watch. I am going to talk about Daly Cherry-Evans. Very relieved that Phil Gould has said that he's not coming to the Bulldogs, respectfully. I can definitely see why the Bulldogs may have been interested. The rhetoric's been talked about. There's a lot of Bulldogs fans that I would suggest there's probably about 45% of Bulldogs fans would have been happy and believe that we would go into a premiership window, that it'd be good mentoring for people like Mitchell Woods and these youngsters coming through. And then there's a whole bunch, probably another 20 to 30% who just would have been happy to roll with it. Whatever the club decides, that's fine. And then you got the ones who are like, I don't want to support the club if they get Daly Cherry-Evans, who have a very poor opinion of him. And look, I'm almost in that category. I've never liked him. I can't imagine him in a blue and white jumper. The respect for me comes that he does have a family. He's got friends. He's got a mother and a father. You know, he's got people that care about him that he's probably really good to, and he's got himself, whoever he is outside of football. One of the things about Daly Cherry-Evans is they've always talked about the way he presents and talks to the game and to media, and he sounds like he's reading from a script. He doesn't sound like he is genuine or authentic. Yet at the moment they're talking about him potentially running the game, and I'm like, nah. He can represent the players. He's represented the players because he's identified as someone who is willing to put the culture of his team and secondary to his own desires and his own worth. And whilst there's some other players and people who will talk that up as a totally good and normal thing to do, that does not mean it is right. When you've got a culture of a team which he came into that all took pay cuts to stay together and were negotiating more deals to do the same thing. They had some back-ended deals, but a lot of them had those cut short so they could stay. And then a player like him in front of the group said, I'm not coming to training if you don't give me any more money, and made it well known. You know, that's not a lie. That's been said by numerous people who witnessed it. And when a player like Daly Cherry-Evans, who's obviously a halfback, played hundreds and hundreds of games, he's 36 years old, right? He comes out in round 3 and throws his team under the bus. He throws his team and his club under the bus. He does. Now, the players in the group who obviously trust him now, this new group that started to emerge from 2017, 2018 and so on, and all the juniors that they were signing up, he's their mentor, he's their captain, he's their number one guru. They're sort of like, they're going to support him, as they probably should. But from a club point of view, that sort of stuff destroys clubs. And whilst I'm happy for Manly to finish last every year, quite happy for that, wouldn't bother me, I do have to look at it from the point of view of what this guy could do to our club, the Bulldogs, or my club, or any other club out there. And obviously other clubs are at different stages of what they need. But whilst the media, especially Fox and people like Paul Crawley and that, talking about this guy deserves to have essentially his club get on their hands and knees, grovel, and that they should have just extended him a year ago for another 2 years on big money, that they should have been on top of this, is sort of so, typical of a man that I've heard numerous times talk about club culture and club loyalty and how players aren't loyal and how clubs aren't loyal. Like, he just goes from one to the other. They all do it. But to hear them basically say that Daly gets to do what he wants, and the club should be on the front foot with that. They've got a succession plan. He is 36. Doesn't matter if he's got 4 years left in him, or 2, or 1. From Manly's point of view, and it's in good faith that this is the truth, they had said, look, if you want to stay with us, you'll stay with us. Happy for you to see what other offers clubs make to get your market value and to see what we're up for. We want to keep you. You've told us you don't know if you want to play next year or if you want to retire or go elsewhere. So we need to sort of, we'll talk again in round 6. Round 3, he's gone. And blindsided them because he wanted them to say, no, we'll give you $2 million back in December. We'll pay you a $2 million extension to keep you at the club until you're 38 with the possibility of more, should you want it. That's what he wanted from Manly. And he's decided in round 3 to say, I'm quitting this club. You're not good enough for me anymore. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you offer. I don't want to be in a situation where I have to negotiate with you guys and, have any pressure as whether I stay and play next year or whether I decide to retire or whatever. If he retires, I'll change my tune a little bit. But this all rings a very familiar bell. When he left the club to go to the Titans for a few days before the cooling off period kicked in, before it did kick, he reneged and stayed with Manly. And he is on the record of saying that he deliberately did that because he was interested to see essentially how far he could push Manly, to see what they could pay, were willing to give him to stay. And obviously they weren't lowballing him, but they weren't offering him what the Titans were. They then give him an 8-year deal or something like that for over $1 million a season and make him one of the highest paid players of his generation and of all time. They then extend him before his time's up. So that goes to 10 years. And now that time is finishing at the end of this year. And he's essentially created a whole media circus under the veil that he's trying to do the opposite. I'm not going to speak about it. I'll let you know at the end of the year whether I retire, whether I sign elsewhere, or whatever I do. But it won't be with Manly. Then it brings all the other clubs into play, like the Bulldogs. So you've got our fan base, 45%, whatever it is, saying we need to sign him. He's the difference between us being competitive and us winning a premiership. And I straight away say, well, why didn't you win a premiership with Manly? Because at Manly, if Tom's not playing, DCE can do what he wants on the field. It's not his fault they lost, it's Tom's, because Tom was injured. If Tom's there, Tom's not 100% right. When they win, it's all DCE's fault. Or, he gets all the credit. It's become very much like that. The media, when Manly go through poor periods, it can be very critical of DCE, which happens when you're in those key positions, and that's part of the reason why they get paid so much. Because they're considered the difference between winning and losing. But look at the guy they signed, Luke Brooks, one of the biggest deals of all time at the Tigers, because he stayed when the others went. They couldn't make the finals the whole time. Ben Hunt signs a 6-year deal with the Dragons. And what did he do? They made the finals the first year and didn't make them again. And he was still each game considered one of the best, highest line break assists and try assist person Because they're very one-dimensional while Ben was there, I must say. Over different coaches and over different squads that emerged while he was there as the 7. But Ben Hunt, there's a bit of similarity there, and kept his club in the news, and essentially was always made to look like the club was the problem, and not Ben. And look, and our great Gus Gould, right? He's had meetings with players and knows them on that level, and likes certain people. And I know that he's fond of Ben Hunt, and I know that he'd be fond of Daly Cherry-Evans. And he's always got to, he's not going to come out and bag any player, really. He said stuff about Latrell, but more how the club's handling the use of Latrell, and looking at what has Latrell actually achieved, essentially, without looking into all that other bullshit that people attack at Latrell Mitchell about. That's as close as it's sort of got as far as any sort of criticism which involves a player. He's generally in the players, supporting the players and supporting what they can make, and he would have no problem with Daly Cherry-Evans getting paid what he can get paid if there's a club that's willing to pay it. I have no doubt. But I think he knows that for Daly to come to our team, he'd have to be the highest paid player, and I don't think it would sit well with our succession planning, and hence why he's ruled himself out. Now, not to say he won't change his mind, and that's his prerogative, and the club's. It's not just Gus. If there's other people in the club who decide we need Daly Cherry-Evans and everyone's on board, so be it. I'll support him. I trust what the club comes up with, and I trust they'll make mistakes, and I trust they'll get things right. But there's no point worrying about it, But I think when it comes to this guy, I just can't imagine him being in a Bulldogs jersey. Can't imagine him being in a lot of clubs' jerseys, to be honest. It's funny though, I can't imagine him in a Roosters jersey. Isn't that funny? The point I want to make with it though, with the Bulldogs and with Gus Gould, is there's all this talk. So the Kennel podcast put a comment in. God love them. And talking about how Trent Barrett will be here at this club a lot longer than Phil Gould. But all his lies or things that he's got wrong are around players that are already, or people that are already at the club. He's never ruled himself out of a player and then gone and signed them for us, has he? So I think it's completely different. If he's ruled himself out of DCE, unless Daly Cherry-Evans and his manager are determined for Daly to come and play for the Bulldogs, and they want to play for the Bulldogs and play under Cameron Serrato, and probably coach or whatever else, which I don't think would go down too well. Unless he is that determined to play for us, I can't see why would Gus lie about that. Why would he go out there and, from what I can see, the players that they chase and chase hard are people like Jacob Preston. You know what I mean? There's other players that the managers ring up and say, look, we reckon we can do this, this and this, we want to play, and they get opportunities. They headhunted a Jacob Preston, and it didn't cost them much. And then they've been able to upgrade him twice, I think. At least once. And he's very, very happy and very grateful. But they're not going to sit there and chase Daly Cherry-Evans. Now, Jerome Luai, Gus Gould thinks he is one of the greatest players of all time, or will be. And if he's got that belief, of course, he's going to go and he can justify in his own mind this player being worth, being the highest paid player under our cap. But I don't think he can do that with a player who's 36 and could disrupt everything that's coming through our system in any good faith. And that's why I think he ruled himself out pretty quickly. Left it in there for a day or two just to see the rumblings happen. And then tell everyone, no, we're not going to do that. So, sorry about that little noise. Basically, this guy, Daly Cherry-Evans, has a lot of headlines about him. He's created a complete media circus. Corey Parker says that he's going to go straight to the Roosters. Many people have said that already. Joey's pretty angry at the player managers. But then he sort of, with his Herald column, is talking about he's a $1.5 million halfback who can play until he's 40, so who's getting a bargain? But how is that helping the game and helping the culture of a rugby league side? We're going to bring in this old fella for $1.5 million a season. Doesn't make sense to me. He announced it on 100% footy with Gus. They're saying he requested a release a year ago, potentially. A lot of stuff there. They made a late offer, I just think that if you're going to go out there and to your employer who's paid you in excess of $10 million over 11 or 12 years and throw them under the bus and make it look like, yeah, I'm leaving, knowing that your story was so weird and weak that no one would believe it, knowing that now people are going to look at the club and go, well, why didn't they do everything they could to keep you? And that's why this Paul Crawley and the like, that's what they've done. And that's the narrative that they're creating. And look, that on shows like NRL 360, they like to have a bit of good cop, bad cop going on. And also a bit of, someone there that'll be like argue the point with someone else and take the other side to it. But in my case, in my opinion, it's manufactured for the most part. And that would be the truth. There are some passionate discussions on there that are true and that are real and that do hit hard for some of the people there. You can see it. It's not, you can see that some of it's authentic, but a lot of the times on a lot of things it's not. And this situation here, I think people need this history lesson that I'm trying to give, that this guy has repeatedly put his club under the bus and did the same thing, and made them look like they were trying to lowball him or not give him enough. And it's sort of like he's at his he's making it look like he's reached his his end point with it. He can't handle it anymore. You should have signed me straight up and I wouldn't have had to have signed with the Titans. You extended me the right way, which you should have, so that's right. Good. You owed me that and I took it. That extra 2-year deal. And now you haven't done the right thing, so I'm going to throw you under the bus. And now Jake Turbo, one of the nicest guys in the world, has to answer questions about it. Just puts pressure. It just takes their mind away from what they're doing. And it doesn't matter how professional they are. They're human beings, right? And look, there's already tall poppy syndrome in clubs. There's already people who think they're worth more than the guy next to them, and they're not getting half as much. And for a lot of the time, it's true. Clubs make mistakes with how they pay people all the time. But this guy's made it known that he's worth more. He doesn't care what you do for anyone else. So you can keep me, but if that costs us, another good player, so be it. I'm going to get the money I'm worth. Winning a premiership seems less important to him than what he gets paid, and that's the perception, and I think that perception should hold true. I really do. I think it really should. There should be questions on Daly, like, did you think it was nice for you to throw the club under the bus like that? Or the perception is that you're throwing your club under the bus. Who's the perception from? What people have said. Why didn't you just handle it in-house? Why did you have to make a big statement to the world about it? Why couldn't you have just told them and let the media do what they want to do? Because it hasn't stopped the fact that he's going to get questioned the whole time. And that's the main point. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to NRL Media Watch from All Things Bulldogs. You can like and subscribe if you wish, and whatever else. But glad he's at this point not coming to the Bulldogs. I think it's clubs really need to consider what his signature could mean for their playing group. If they have players emerging and they have players that they need to, re-sign and keep that are worth a fair bit of money, this guy is seems to put money ahead of everything else. And that's his prerogative to do that, and if he's enabled to do that, so be it. But I really sort of more so feel with his club for this time, at this period, because it seems that they were blindsided. And whilst that should not happen, they should be more on the front foot. Why wouldn't they succession plan for a guy at that age who is indicating to them that he might resign and retire and stuff? I'm sure that the Melbourne Storm had similar conversations with Cam Smith and with Craig Bellamy and these sort of players. I'm pretty sure that they're sort of like, well, the ball's a lot in your court. If, you let us know what you want, and we'll see how we can make it work and all that sort of stuff. And I just don't think that's how it went down. I think Daly wanted them to, be the proactive ones about it and show him how much they valued him for their future, and sort of creates this own potential rhetoric in his own brain that they really didn't want me, or they would have tried harder. And that's the rhetoric getting carried around now by journalists. I don't think it's right. I think this guy owes his employer a little bit more than what he's given them. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Happy to hear yours. Go the Dogs. And thank you, Gus, for saying you're not going to sign Daly Cherry-Evans.